Do we have ownership update? Hello, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Live Before Lock. Yeah, 2-game slate, little Monday action. Next weekend, we have a lot going on. I think you got a London game. We're going to have a Live Before Lock for that, by the way. I'm letting you know. You're the first to know. We're going to have a Live Before Lock for that London game, heading into our regularly scheduled programming on Sunday. Could be a lot of good stuff, man. So hopefully you guys stick around for that. But tonight, Titans-Dolphins, yeah. Lions, Seahawks, 47-point total there. It's almost like Matt and I have talked to each other today about this exact slate, but many of you haven't heard it. Some things have changed, not much, but now we've got some updated data and all of that stuff. And we'll break down a little more instead of just like players. More, Matt, I think it probably makes a lot more sense that we talk actual like lineup building and game theory and answer some super chats and all that good stuff today.
We absolutely should do that. There is one inactive that I need to get your opinion on because we did not talk about him this morning.
Well, I say we dive right into it. Before we do, as always, take a single second this evening, atone for your sins, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And as you know, it goes a very long way for us. I just looked at it. We are at 99,600 and I think 50 or so subs, Matt. 99,600 and we've jumped since I've last looked. 99,693. We're officially 307 away from the 100K mark. What do you say? We get there tonight, dude?
I say we get there tonight. That would be awesome.
It would be sweet. But anyway, if you're not subscribed yet, if you hate the stuff, what we do, feel free to not subscribe or subscribe. And if you despise it a week from now, we will gladly refund you your misery for free. Just click unsubscribe and you never have to see us again, unless that pesky YouTube algorithm keeps feeding you shit. You're not a big YouTube guy. I am. And sometimes I'll go on like a couple hour rabbit hole on something. And then I'm like, okay, I've seen enough, right? Or it's like I'm trying to figure out how to fix something. So Matt, I'll watch like 5 different videos on it or do something. And now my whole YouTube feed for the next 2 weeks is just like, you know, how to install a French drain when I don't care about any of that.
I don't go on YouTube as much as you, I think, but when I do, the same thing happens to me. And it's usually like that. I'm trying to solve some sort of problem. I don't know. I'm going to look and see what my YouTube algorithm is right now. I'm sure this is going to be it's basically all DFS and some hunting fishing guy.
Are you a hunter and a fisherman?
No.
I didn't think so.
I don't know where that one came from. You can't be a hunter and be a football guy.
You don't think so?
Not like a professional one.
Because it's in season.
Yeah, at least in Wisconsin, I'm sure around the United States, there are some hunting seasons that don't overlap with the fall, but up here you can't hunt and do this job.
This is good. All right. So you want to hear my top 5 or top 4 right now?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. First one is a stochastic NFL video.
Same.
Second one is Shane Gillis and Matt McCusker. There's from Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. Great comedians. Third one is the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Conference.
See, mine is pretty tailored to me. Like the second one on mine, aside from the stochastic videos, like Kurt Cignetti, the Indiana head coach's press conference, which is the kind of stuff I'll watch after the game.
Sure, so do I. So most of my stuff is football, but then I get some wild stuff mixed in here along the way.
Yeah, like, it's more wild than the hunting.
Michio Kaku, I think his name is. We finally found what's inside of a black hole. And then some other crazy stuff. Anyway, time to talk some football. The algorithm, though, can get you into some trouble if you like, not even bad stuff. It's just stop feeding me this shit. Anyway,
or it's really good and then you watch it way too long.
That's the problem. That's the problem. And I have that addictive mindset where I just like zone in on something and can't stop. Chris Williams, thank you for the super chat. I've atoned. Hit that like button. Bring yourself some of that good karma. Yeah, brother. And thank you for gifting those memberships as well. You too, Brad Kaufman. Thank you. I guess it's back. I guess gifting is back. Let's do it. Yes, Chiefs fan. I remember Squid Chop. I taught you guys all something valuable that day. I bet you even went and showed your friends that video. But besides the point. Ready to talk some, let's get into some football, man.
Let's do it.
All right. So we went position by position earlier. I think we can kind of use that as a guideline and then take it from there. We don't have to do it the exact same way we did on the strategy show. But, you know, the more I build lineups, the more I feel like I keep coming around to Tyler Huntley.
Really? That is a big difference from this morning.
Yeah. It's not an egregious amount of Tyler Huntley, but as I look at some of these lineups, oh, sweet. We just got updated projections. So ownership should be coming any minute now.
All right, I'm going to I'll wait and then I'll rerun again.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change that much. But I mean, actually, who's the inactive you wanted to talk about?
Malik Washington's active for the first time all season for Miami. And he gives me some hope because of the dusty wide receiver threes they've been trotting out all season long. This a rookie. He was a guy that had a pretty good preseason, and then he's missed the first 3 weeks of the season. Just hopeful that he can play over Braxton Berrios and maybe get some of these 2 tight end Alec Ingold formations off the field and help out Tyler Huntley a little bit because he seems to be a player that has at least some intrigue.
Would you consider playing him?
I am considering he's going to be a 0% to 1% owned guy. So yeah, I'm probably going to come in around 5, just manually forcing 5 or 8%. Why not? Everyone else down there stinks.
He's the dead min too.
Like he could just straight up airball, but he's active. I mean, why activate him if you don't have any sort of role?
Yeah, especially when there's just zero competition in front of him, right? Like, I mean, Braxton Berrios is not serious. That's not a serious threat. You know what I mean, though, right? Like,
I do, yes.
I'm saying like these guys. Like, okay, if you wanted to, kind of maybe energize the offense. Not to say that Malik Washington is the guy, but could he get on the field for 30% of snaps? I mean, if it's him, okay. Here's a good one. Who would you rather have in a large field tournament? Let's say you're playing a large field single entry tournament. You got to play one of these guys, Malik Washington or Tim Patrick.
Malik Washington.
Because
that one's kind of close, but still.
Are you embracing the unknown here, though?
Yes, there is a little bit of unknown with Tim Patrick. He iced Khalif Raymond kind of. And I don't know if that's sticky. That might just be like a game plan thing because they're extremely different players, even just down to a size thing. So I don't know that Tim Patrick is necessarily going to ice Khalif Raymond every single week, And I know they're both not good. Malik Washington might be good. It'll be hard to tell with Huntley under center, but there's at least a chance he plays more than Berrios and these other guys. I don't know if it's likely or not. It's just a complete unknown right now. But I've been known to take shots on those unknown situations.
I don't have an issue with it. One of the other reasons I have no issue with it isn't because I have supreme, or profound faith in Malik Washington, but because there's nobody else for value. I mean, nobody. We talked about it this morning. There's nobody down there that provides good value. The fact that Tyler Boyd is far and away your best like point per dollar value option at 4,200, doesn't that kind of just tell you everything you need to know?
Yeah. And I'll be playing a fair amount of Tyler Boyd, I'm sure still. We just got ownership 2 minutes ago, so we can rerun and give you accurate numbers now. But before this, and I can't imagine it's changed significantly, I had a lot of Tyler Boyd, and it's exactly what you said. When you end up in that range, by default, you kind of end up with Tyler Boyd because of the lack of alternatives, which doesn't feel good. But everyone's in the same boat as you at that point.
I get it. Jay Sheets just said, I tagged you and Matt on X. Is this you saying that you found proof of Bigfoot? Is that you? I'll watch it. I will watch it later. Oh, you're in
Kettle,
Wisconsin.
I was going to say Kettle State Forest. That's right by where I live. That's like 20 minutes away.
Is it
This guy's
really?
got a Buck shirt on.
Dude, careful. If Bigfoot's out there,
Dude, I go there all the time.
I hope you come back next time. I will watch this, Jay.
So will I, because it's
I'm
right in my
sure
backyard.
I'm sure it's total bullshit, but I will definitely watch it happily because I'll always entertain this nonsense for sure.
And it's in my backyard, so I will definitely be watching. I'm going to know the places wherever you are.
Plan B Smoothies, is it actually your birthday? The same guy that sends me a super chat saying it's my birthday every day? If so, happy birthday, brother. Appreciate you. All right. So Malik Washington, this is how we start the show.
I guess
good.
so.
It's fine. Quarterback, though, I was saying that I see myself potentially getting the more Huntley than I thought this morning. I'm not excited about him, obviously. Like, you're not going to see me you're not going to have me sit here and just say all these great things about Tyler Huntley. That's not really what it is. It's just these 2-game slates can go sideways so quickly, and we see it all the time. Like, what if Geno's just not good? What if Jared Goff, Matt? What if Geno is just okay, but, Detroit at home shows up and the pass rush gets to him, even though that offensive line hasn't been bad? Well, let's just say, because Geno's, let's be completely honest here. Geno's not exactly a monster ceiling type quarterback. You get 20 out of him, you're thrilled. Let's say he's not great. And let's say those issues with the defensive line in Seattle drives Detroit to just run the hell out of the ball. 35 touches between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They just run it like crazy. I think there is a path for Tyler Huntley to be the optimal QB, and he doesn't have to do that much. Am I nuts?
No, you're not nuts. And there's not that many options. So I get where you're coming from. I've been basically playing the ownership game with these guys. And I'll, of course, entered a lot more than I said I was this morning. This is just like clockwork for me. I don't even know why I say that anymore. Anyway, in a 150 set, you're going to play some Huntley. You're going to play some Levis, whether you like them a lot or not, unless you're just being, or you're taking a super risky approach, which is okay. But when I look at Geno Smith at 37% and Jared Goff at 24%, in the better of the two games, I think that game is a lot more likely to be a shootout, not just from the total perspective, but Detroit has been a bit of a pass funnel on defense. Seattle, they have a lot of injuries up front, which has been the strength of their team. So you could see this getting out of hand. They're the two most talented quarterbacks and proven quarterbacks, with 22% coming to Huntley and around 17-ish coming to Levis. I thought those would be lower. When I ran the Sims, they backed up this notion too. And that's not to say I got zero Huntley, but my percent or ownership to Huntley and my exposures is just 1% lower than where we have him in ownership. Levis, it's a lot lower, and then it's above on Goff and Geno.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Again, nothing exciting here. I do wonder though, when you look at, it's funny when you look at Malik Willis from 2 weeks ago, okay, against Tennessee. They ran the ball for 188 yards against Tennessee. That's not nothing. Malik Willis had also been in the offense. He had been on the team for less than a month. He didn't know the whole playbook. Admittedly said, I know some stuff. I don't know the whole playbook though. And Matt LaFleur's like, yeah, we're just gonna run the offense and kind of cater it to what he can do. Mike McDaniel said something in a similar vein. And now you have Jeffrey Simmons also. I know he's in the middle of that line, but just like another guy who is he officially out, by the way? Let me pull this up. Is Simmons officially out?
I believe so.
I thought so. He was doubtful with an elbow. I just want to make sure.
I don't have it in front of me anymore. I looked and it didn't.
I got it.
He is out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's out. Okay.
Nothing surprised me in Tennessee's, but the inactive that surprised me was Malik. That was the only one that registered in my brain.
Yeah, the active that surprised you, right?
The active.
Yeah. But Mostert out, Fuller out, Teron Armstead, and then you have L'Jarius Sneed, who is active for Tennessee. That would have been a big deal if he was out. Because you remember
he's their only good player other than Simmons.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, you remember how much of a pass funnel defense the Titans were last year?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And this year, 188 yards last week. So there is a part of me that's like, hey, maybe maybe Tyler Huntley, they just cater it to him, and I'm not saying they let him run on every play, but he gets some opportunities and get some easy throws, yards after the. Like, okay, if there was ever an offense that you would hope a guy like Huntley could step into and just be competent, wouldn't you think Mike McDaniel offense would at least be kind of that, with all of these guys that can get yards after the catch?
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point, you're more or less just looking at your play callers. LaFleur, O'Connell, Shanahan, McDaniel, I would put on that list. Like, who are the best signal callers, or who are the best quarterback coaches, head coaches, offensive play callers that can actually put players in a position to succeed? Those guys are all on the short list. So I'm not saying Huntley is going to, and Huntley's actually played well at times in the past. He can run. I think all of that is just fine. The matchup's not hard. We debated this morning what Mike McDaniel is going to do, like just try to drop layup stuff for Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Achane, and that's how we see Huntley succeed, or is Huntley going to run? And I don't know the answer, but I think it honestly could just be a mixture of both.
Yeah, probably is. Plan B, this is probably done, but whatever happened to Alex? Alex got married,
he has a child,
and is settling down. When you make as much money as he did in the years of playing DFS, you kind of have the luxury to just go, you know what, Matt, we'll take a break.
I'll tell you what he's doing. If you're in his tails package, he's smashing the hell out of WNBA props.
I tail those WNBA props all the time.
He's smashing.
Yeah. I tail those WNBA props. And I'll be completely honest with you. And Alex, I love you, man. No disrespect, because I know you enjoy the WNBA. I was sweating some in one game yesterday. On the one game was Minnesota and God, I don't even know. It's unimportant. But dude, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I turned the game on for I think the first time also. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. It was unwatchable.
Really?
I tried too. And this isn't like I'm saying the product is bad. It wasn't good.
I can't refute. I don't watch it.
Okay. Not a great product. But betting WNBA might be the most profitable thing ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's one of the best at creating projections, and he's putting them into like a hyper inefficient market.
Exactly. Also, all in our portfolio EV model, because I use that market-based approach. I get notifications straight to my phone every time a bet pops up. Just crush it. So
that's where Alex is. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I don't need to watch it.
I think he likes it. I think he has like season tickets or something.
No, he does. And that's why I said, like, some people enjoy it. To me, I thought it was awful.
People like what they like. I like watching Miami, Ohio, and teams like Navy on a Tuesday night. And that's basically like watching high school.
Yeah. And I like watching preseason football.
Oh, I love that too. That's people who don't like that are the crazy ones, not us.
So again, it's no slight towards anyone. I just thought it was extremely unwatchable. But we're making money, and that's all that matters. Anyway, man, I just did a new run on The Sims, and I'm getting a lot less. Okay, hold on, because I got 50 lineups in today. Different contest, so I'm going to rerun this with a different payout, but let me just favorite 50 of them and see what we get with a 30% to first. Okay, so listen to this, Matt. 38% Goff, 32% Geno, 26% Tyler Huntley, 4% Will Levis. That's a lot of that trio right there. It just scares the shit out of me that Will Levis is going to do what he did on the doubleheader last year on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that is scary. I ran for more of the larger field stuff, and I ended up at 12% Levis. But honestly, dude, I think I might rather be where you are. This is my bias. Right, what's that?
How much Levis do you have right now?
12.
See, I'd be okay with that.
It's not bad. It's under the field.
I think I'd rather be there. Like, I think I'd rather be at least, do you really have, first of all, Kendall Fuller's out. He's not bad. But they're secondary. They added some pieces. Do you really think this Miami defense is great though?
No, I don't think they're great. I think they're firmly middle of the pack, maybe a little bit below. It's just Levis hasn't been able to do anything whatsoever this year. The one feather in his cap is DeAndre Hopkins has barely played, and he's kind of getting the Mike Williams treatment, where he's jumping up slightly week by week in snaps, and he's a baller still, even at this age. In his limited role last week, you could see his targets per route run really high, and he just looked good out there. He's the best receiver they have. Great compliment to Ridley. Maybe that just flat out helps. But the real problem I have with Levis is their offensive line is so damn bad. He's just taking sacks. He's constantly in position behind the chains where they have to be in very predictable down and distances. And that's not changing. They don't run the ball very well, partially because they keep feeding the ball to Tony Pollard, who's just been flat out less efficient than Tajay Spears. And there's a lot of just ineffectiveness all around the offense. I would rather bet on Mike McDaniel getting more out of Tyler Huntley, like career journeyman backup, than what this Tennessee offense is getting out of Levis.
How many turnovers do you think he has through 3 games?
Oh, it's absurd. I don't know the exact number, but like 7?
Yeah, 8.
8,
yeah. He's lost a fumble in every game. He has 2 interceptions in 2 of 3, only 1 interception in the other. But it's so funny that he makes such bad mistakes that he might just put himself in a good position to have to throw.
That's true. The good old Jameis Winston position.
Oh, do you remember that 30-30 year? He was a DFS stud.
Dude, I had one of my buddies over to watch the Packer game yesterday. And as we're watching Deshaun Watson do some dumb stuff, we literally brought that up and how enjoyable of a season it was when Jameis Winston threw his 30th pick. And for DFS, it was literally a thing. People are just talking. All right, Jameis Winston's going to throw his 2 picks. The Browns are going to be down and trailing in game script. He's going to have 45 pass attempts. And it was like clockwork every single week.
It was so good. I miss it. It was the best too, because you get those 2 interceptions early and now he's just forced to throw no matter what.
Oh, it was so good, man.
It was great. Like Mike Evans. I mean, Mike Evans is still good, but those years, my God. Like it was just every single game. But anyway, you want to talk running backs here? I think quarterback, I don't think is that difficult. It really just is like, all right, there's 3 guys and then there's Levis, but because it's a 2-game slate, Levis is still viable. I'm not getting a lot. I wouldn't mind getting a little bit more than I have right now, but I'm okay with not getting a ton either, because I am getting a decent amount of Huntley and Huntley, you were talking about Malik Washington, how he could just do nothing. Huntley could just be terrible. He was pretty awful in the preseason this year as well. Who was he with? Cleveland, right? Was he with Cleveland?
I can't remember, honestly.
I think he was, because he wasn't with Baltimore anymore. I think it was Cleveland. I think he was behind Deshaun Watson. They had Huntley and they had Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That's right. Because I believe they plucked him off the practice squad. He was pretty bad, but we've seen him be not terrible before. Give me some Tyler Huntley. Let's talk running backs.
Yeah, as we transition over, this applies to the other positions. Part of the reason I think the Sims are giving me more Geno Smith and Jared Goff is I just have way more of their skill position players. And a lot of these guys are excellent pass catching running backs, especially when you start talking about a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. And like say the rest of your lineup is something like, I don't know, maybe you have HN, but then it's like a Lions back, Kenneth Walker, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, what am I going to do? Throw like a naked Will Levis on top of that? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think that's also another reason why we're getting a lot of the quarterbacks is just the skill position players. I personally think are in much better situations for Detroit and Seattle, including the running backs.
But it's an expensive position for a 2-game slate.
It sure is. We thought this is what brings you back to like the Tyler Boyd thing and why I'm interested in Wake Washington at like a 0% ownership.
Like why I'm interested in Julian Hill. I mean, come on now.
Well, I guess my big standout running back and why, again, it kind of trickles down to quarterback is I'm not in love with Tony Pollard at ownership. He's in a full-time share and one I think could get worse. It's not really like a full-time share yet, but the coaching staff has been vocal about getting Tajay Spears more work. Tajay Spears has been better than Tony Pollard on the limited sample. One game Tajay Spears played this year, he exited with an injury. So the split actually looks a little better in favor of Tony Pollard than it might have been had Tajay Spears stayed active in a full game. And then you see the price gap between like a timeshare that's better in Detroit. You're telling me it's $400 to go from Pollard to David Montgomery at lower ownership? I'm making that switch every single time. And then, I mean, a little bit more, you get to Gibbs. Kenneth Walker's 300 more. I don't personally love Kenneth Walker tonight, but I like him a lot more than Tony Pollard for his role in that game environment. So that's just another easy fade for me. And again, it's not zero Pollard, but it's certainly under the field.
It's funny that lineup you and I ran today. Remember we ran that lineup this morning? We kind of went balanced there.
Yes.
When I swapped out, I think it was like Montgomery for Huntley or Gibbs for Huntley and then upgraded to Miami defense. It got us to like 88%. I did it after the show.
That's pretty good, man. That's really, what were we at before? 30?
30. Yeah. Which was interesting because I just, I was curious to see what would work. And I think I'm probably a little bit higher on Tony Pollard than you are. And I'll tell you why. First of all, you're not a huge Tony Pollard fan, right?
I don't know.
Let your bias be known, Matt.
I do, to his defense, I think it's very hard to separate his individual talent from the bottom three offensive line he's running behind. So it's not all his fault, but it's just a bad situation. The Titans' run game is not ideal.
Okay, I agree. This is all I was getting at, though. Even though it's not ideal, neither is the Chicago Bears, as you know, firsthand. And DeAndre Swift still had himself a game yesterday, right? Hey, if that guy's not touched, he looks pretty good. The moment anyone makes contact, it goes downhill quick. But Tony Pollard, last game, they went down early and quick, right? They were down, like 14-0 early or something like that. That game was never competitive. He still played 60% of snaps. He still paced the backfield. But it was just, the game was over from the beginning and they lost. There was nothing working. In weeks 1 and 2, where they had a 17-point lead, somehow gave up 24 unanswered, failed to cover the spread as 4.5-point dogs. It is whatever. We'll talk about that some other time. But okay, a game where the game script worked, in his favor. Favorable/neutral game script. 16 attempts, 20 total touches. Week 2 against the Jets, they lose by a touchdown. But that game was that if you watched any of that game, at no point did that game feel like the Jets had control of it. They just ended up winning. 24-17 neutral game script, 17 for 62. By the way, I know you had no Spears. Did Spears get injured in that one, or did he get injured in week 1?
He was injured in week 2.
In week 2. 17 attempts, 6 targets, 23 total looks. So in a 37-point game total with a 2.5-point spread, I do think it's possible that Pollard gets up there to around like 18 opportunities again, 17, 18 opportunities, which on a 2-game slate looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad. And it's all about alternatives and pricing. I don't think the Pollard role is bad. He's just very close to Montgomery and Walker, where I would prefer to find the $300, $400 and take what I think just overall is a better situation. Better touch count for Walker, probably a slightly worse touch count for Montgomery, but a significantly better matchup behind a significantly better O-line. So it is literally just alternatives. And it's not that I'll play zero Pollard, but this is one of the stands I'll make to be slightly underweight to Pollard in favor of Gibbs, Montgomery. Going to probably be neutral to Walker as things finish up here for me on the back end.
Who do you like better, Pollard or Walker? I like Pollard a little better than Walker today. This matchup for Kenneth Walker, I'm not saying he isn't good, that he can't get it done. It concerns me a little bit, including the fact that Zach Charbonnet looked pretty decent in his 2 spot starts and might just happen to get more opportunities. That to me is a bit of a concern. Only one team allowed fewer receptions to running backs last year than Detroit. This year they have 5 for 17 to running backs. It's early, but it's just a continuation of 2023. And you've seen they don't give up rushing yards to running backs. Maybe it could happen, but man, they're stout against the run.
They are stout against the run. They have a great D line. It's not just Aiden Hutchinson, who everyone knows. They have great linebackers too. They're getting a lot of Jack Campbell. They're from our first round picks. It's just an overall pretty good front seven. If you play Walker, it's got to be on the basis that he goes right back to that workload we saw in week 1, where Charbonnet was barely involved. But to your point, Walker keeps getting hurt because he has these workloads. Whenever he's out, Charbonnet plays well. He can catch the ball when asked. So I don't know that we are pricing Walker and Charbonnet, for that matter, efficiently because of the potential for a timeshare. But I don't see that differently than Tennessee. Like, Tajay Spears will be involved to some degree, and the coaches keep talking about getting him more involved. So who knows? I tentatively would pick Walker just on the outside chance he still has that week 1 role. I think there's almost no chance Pollard has that role.
Okay, interesting.
It's very close. This is not a stand I plan to be like overexposed on one side or the other.
Yeah, I get that. All right, so I want to talk about wide receiver before we do. And there's one guy specifically that I want to drill down on.
Malik Washington.
No, it's not Malik Washington. We'll talk about it. But do you have love for Spears or Wilson with Raheem Mostert out, or any cheap guys? Because our initial take this morning was that the value at running back is pretty bad.
Yes. Not really is the answer. Still all the way through the day, even with a little bit of optimism for Spears, I would rather find the salary to get up to the Lions and Achane.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Wide receiver, how much Tyreek Hill do you have right now?
Oh, let's see. Come on.
I'm currently giving him a slight ROI boost just to get some.
That is 16%. That's with no adjustments yet. I was still working on the running backs, but I don't know. I don't hate that. Where are you at?
I love that. And I just got myself, it's funny you say that. I just gave him a little ROI boost. Now I am at 16% exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to change that. I kind of like
I'm not. I was way lower though. I want some. I understand. You know what the problem is with Tyreek Hill is that the builds, if you've built lineups, you guys watching the show right now, Matt, you already know we did it this morning. If you've built lineups, it's so tough to click on Tyreek Hill over some of these guys in the spot tonight, right? Like, even you look in the 5K range, we can agree, right, that the best, I'll call it value, but like the best price range is of any position is probably the 5K range at wide receiver. That's probably the sweetest spot of anything outside of the top tier at the positions.
I do agree with that. So it's very nice. There's a lot of options.
A lot. And Hill just gets tough to click on. But, oh, by the way, what do you think his alt receive? Okay, so 100+ yards. Someone tweeted this at me earlier. What do you think the odds are on 100+ yards for Tyreek Hill today? I almost took this on principle.
Plus 300, 350?
Okay, that's what I would have thought. Plus 650.
That's nuts because you told me earlier his listed prop was 49.5.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's honestly just worth like couch change sprinkle, kind of regardless on principle, as you put it.
Yeah. Like his prop was the same as George Pickens' opening prop. Pickens moved up to 49.5. And I grabbed Pickens. I think the latter was like 550 at 100. So he had shorter odds than Tyreek Hill, which is wild. But yeah, I wanted to know where you were at on Hill because it's one of those spots you look at it and you just go, all right, well, obviously you're not playing Tyreek Hill at 7,900. But then the other side, Matt goes, well, it is Tyreek Hill. And he's had games with Skylar Thompson before where he puts up like 102.
They just have not happened very often. And what I keep coming back to is this 5 and 6 targets, 11 combined targets over the last 2 weeks. Perhaps you're onto something. We saw him with Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle. What does Tyler Huntley want to do? What are his preferences? Does he go to his first read more? Maybe. That could be worthwhile as an angle to play if you think Huntley plays with just, I don't know, a more locked in Tyreek Hill as his first read?
Like I know I know Tyler Huntley isn't special, but when are you ever getting Tyreek Hill at 20 or so percent ownership? Like that's just crazy.
It is crazy. It almost doesn't compute.
It doesn't.
Well, okay. So the reason why it's happening is, you well know, he's separated by only a couple points between the 5K range.
Yep.
So guys like Jameson Williams, if you go down there, you're only foregoing like 2-3 points depending on the player, and you're not really changing ownership a ton. But what you do get is 2K, 2.5K, sometimes 3K in salary, which goes up to get you Achane, Gibbs, Montgomery, whoever it is that you like at running back. Or maybe you can just go up and play Goff. Maybe you can play Laporta. So the salary does go somewhere. Your lineups just have a better overall projection without Tyreek Hill. But yeah, I mean, everything you're saying doesn't make me feel good about a Tyreek Hill fade. And he's coming in at like 25% projected ownership. Me and you right now are both below that. So that's also very scary.
I'm not anymore.
Where did you get to now?
28.
Okay, so you're almost right in line.
I'm gonna leave it.
Where are you on Amon-Ra then? So did that bring Amon-Ra down?
Yeah, but I still have 50%. So like I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, you're like what, 3% over on Tyreek, like 3 under on Amon-Ra?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not. That's not crazy.
And by the way, I have stands on other players for sure. So
Yeah, like
I'm not
Malik
just
Washington.
Yeah, Malik Washington and Julian Hill. But no, it's look, as good as Amon-Ra is, and I love the guy. Excuse me. You still have Jameson Williams. You still have 2 great running backs. You still have Sam Laporta, who we haven't heard from yet. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Amon-Ra just doesn't have a huge game.
It happened in week 1. There's a lot of good players, and it's a run-heavy team. When you're dealing with depressed pass attempts, sometimes Laporta is going to be the guy. Jameson Williams has taken a real stride forward, and you have an excellent pass catching back in Jahmyr Gibbs. So there's a lot of good options.
All right. I'm okay with that. Get a little over the field on Tyreek Hill. We'll see. It's so tough because, like you said, we don't know what Huntley's going to do. What if Huntley just goes, hey, you know what I'm going to do to keep this job? I'm going to lock on to the best receiver in the world. How about that? Like, what if he just goes, you know what? I want to target, like Daniel Jones is doing with Malik Neighbors. Like, I'm just going to target the guy on 40% of my passes. And what happens, happens. What if that happens tonight?
I kind of think he might be an upgrade for the offense. Honest, from Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle. Like Skylar Thompson, whenever he was pressured, he just completely folded. There was no answer whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, he's awful.
You could just blitz him, and then the Miami Dolphins' whole offense was stone dead. This is a guy that can use his legs. He's played meaningful games. I believe he made a Pro Bowl one time.
Someone said he did.
Dude, I'm like 95% sure he made a Pro Bowl.
Someone said he did. I saw it in chat.
I'm pretty sure he did.
So we're playing a Pro Bowler with Tyreek Hill, is what you're telling me.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah.
Matt Butler on Twitter, what's up, Matt, said, since you brought it up, I pulled up Huntley's first read target attempts. 68% in 2023, Matt, 65% in 2022. What's 2021, Matt? Because that was Matt Butler, because that was the season that he had the decent year. Even had a couple 100-yard games gone to Mark Andrews as well. But yeah. Anyway, how are you approaching the mid-range, these 5K guys? Because it's nice. It's a lovely place to be.
First of all, I'm playing a lot of this range just in general. Most of my builds are Amon-Ra up top. There's a couple that have Tyreek Hill too. 16% have Tyreek Hill instead of Amon-Ra. And then it's living in this mid-range. There's also some lineups that are like really expensive, like Laporta. I'll have 3 of these mid-range receivers. But yeah, I think you want to be overexposed to most of the players in this range. My favorite is Smith and Jigba at his price, sort of overtaking Tyler Lockett as the wide receiver 2 for Seattle. And we didn't talk a lot about, Seattle's quarterback situation, but I think Geno's benefiting from a number of factors in this offense. First of all, new OC, Ryan Grubb, comes from a pass-based scheme at Washington that was an air raid system. And he's just utilizing the talent on the roster a lot better than Shane Waldron did, where he was running like these super wide splits, getting these receivers up like as far as possible. So it's just a more efficient, clean offense for Geno Smith to run. Now you're moving to a Detroit defense, which is historically last year and to start this year, been a pass funnel defense. And we didn't mention this. I believe Brian Branch is out tonight.
Wait, yeah, he is.
That was not expected.
Yeah, I know he is. Yeah.
When we talked this morning, he had been full practice with the concussion. He must have like failed his last step in protocol, which we were not expecting Brian Branch to miss this game.
It says Branch is a full participant Friday and Saturday, but it seems as if the team is playing it safe by resting him in this one. A significant loss for Detroit. So, I mean, by playing it safe, to me, that kind of just is like something didn't seem right, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know how they do concussions. Seems like it would be pretty black or white to me. Like you either pass or you don't. It's not like you re-aggravate a concussion, or if you do, then the system seems very broken. And why do you have it in the first place? So I don't know. It's like,
this is a big loss.
It's a huge loss. I think he's their best DB. He's at least their most versatile. He plays nickel, he plays safety. You can play him anywhere.
Wow, yeah. Yeah. Also, Detroit plays a lot of man coverage, and these Seattle wide receivers have done remarkably well against man coverage. Does it surprise you that DK Metcalf would perform well against man coverage? But all of these guys, like JSN, DK, Lockett, I like all of them today. I don't even, because we have 15 minutes here, I don't really think there's any spot where I wouldn't go to, including Noah Fant.
No, it's just basically preferences. And if JSN is separating from Lockett a little bit and Lockett is becoming more of just a reliable wide receiver 3, that's where I want to go. So and I mean, we're splitting hairs here. I'm super exposed to this whole area. It's in my personal exposures right now, my 150 set, 49% Smith and Jigba, 45% Lockett. So we're talking just a slight preference, but if you made me pick, it would be JSN.
All right. Let's get into a little bit more here. We still got some important stuff to talk about, but Matt, if you look on the screen, remember you mentioned that we had a couple huge screenshots, people saying, hey, the Sims taking me to the promised land. Our boy DFS Golden, 50K yesterday. And man, did it make, I was very high on Fields and Pickens. I had a shot with this combo. Fields, Pickens, combining for 56 with Nico, Chuba Hubbard, Aaron Jones, Deontay Johnson. I mean, that is just the nuts of a lineup. And Aaron Jones should have scored as well. The Sims just do the job week after week, but especially for these little slates and these showdown slates, that's where I've leaned heavily into them. Sometimes I run them at factory settings.
Yeah, I do that too. I do that a lot when I'm playing like 18 slates at once. This happens a lot in college football where you get like 4 showdowns, main slate, afternoon slate, which for NFL, I do that a lot too when I'm on live before lock. And then it's difficult to, like, it's just hard to play a lot of slates at once. But what the Sims will guarantee you is that you'll never put in a bad lineup with them. They filter out all the trash lineups and you end up with something good, even at just factory settings. And then if you have your own personal intuition, you can test it with the Sims and see, oh, is this actually something that is good and not duplicated too much for showdown or something like that?
Yeah, 100%. And shout out to Brad as well.
Oh, thanks. Laffy. Jeff Wilson, questionable knee injury and warmups.
Whoa. By the way, link to all of the tools in the description and in the pin comment or in the chat. We'd love to have you guys over there. And even if you're not ready, click on it. You can see every price by week or month for every subscription level. And if you have questions, hit me up on Twitter. I'm very happy to answer any of them, and join the Discord because any package gets you in. But shout out to all the big winners. We'll come back to this, Matt, next time we do a showdown show. This is a big deal if Jeff Wilson doesn't play. I'm already getting to it literally cannot affect my Devon Achane exposure. It can't. That's how much Devon Achane I have. It can't affect my exposure there. But can it get us to some Jalen Wright?
Absolutely. They played 14 snaps for Wilson, 13 snaps for Jalen Wright. If they maintain the same split, which perhaps HN gets a few more snaps, but you're looking at maybe like 15 to 20 snaps for Jalen Wright. That's playable at this price.
Okay, well, the problem here is that we might just not know. Wait, no, yes, we will. Tennessee, Miami. How is he questionable? It starts in 13 minutes.
This is just the tweet from the Underdog Football account.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I'm just saying it makes it difficult for us.
Oh, it makes it very difficult. But what I'm going to do right now preemptively is boost Jalen Wright, not to a crazy amount, but I have 0 right now. Like, I got to get that up to at least 5.
If Jeff Wilson suffered a knee injury in practice or in warm-up, sorry, I don't know. I don't think he'd play.
Yeah, the questionable tag is kind of weird language. How do you like not, I don't know. Maybe he's getting it. Maybe it's the pregame warm-ups version of, he went to the injury tent.
Yeah. I don't know. This is. I don't know. How is it that we always have wild stuff happen right before a game starts?
Dude, I don't know. This is the NFL. This isn't supposed to happen. But no one is going to be reacting to this. He's unowned. Even if I just burn like 5% of, or 5,
I'm going to do it.
5% on my portfolio on, I mean, what do we really have to lose? You might be getting like 20 snaps. At worst, you're getting the role that was expected.
Okay, so let's talk about it then. I don't think you need to really change ownership all that much. Maybe you could bring Wilson down, boost Wright up a little bit, but I think you could probably get away with just boosting a Jalen Wright projection in the Sims.
That's what I'm toying around with right now. I boosted Covey 0.5% and got 40%. I don't know how much to boost him. I'm going to start small and then go from there.
Yeah, so you bring Wilson to 0, or do you not? That's the question.
I already had 0 of him, so I don't know that matters a ton.
Sure. I got you. What would you boost Wright to?
That's what I'm debating. I don't know, man.
Like, all right, I think I'd boost him to like, if we had Wilson at 4 and we had Wright at 2.2, I think you have to boost him to like 5 or 6.
I was going to say 5, just minimum.
Oh man.
I'm running it right now. We'll see what I get at 5.
Yeah, let me know.
I'm going to jam at least 5% in regardless. Because the other thing is, there's a long sample of HN playing in committees. They haven't done it last week. And I think that was kind of by necessity, but like at some point, do they use him a little bit more? So I still got 0 at the 5% projection. I'm going to move it to 6 and see what happens.
By the way, a couple things here. One, Matt, I want to spend the last 10 minutes of this show talking about this situation, or at least some of it. I think it's the most important aspect right now. Corey said Huntley likes his tight ends, right? There's a super chat. Not big with his wide receivers, or am I crazy? He was on a team that didn't really have wide receivers, and Mark Andrews was the wide receiver. Mark Andrews was just a go-to guy, so I don't read into that much. Shamar, Goff and St. Brown, or Geno and Metcalf in Showdown? Goff or St. Brown and Geno and Metcalf? I don't have a preference there. They're both, I don't see the difference, Matt, for a Showdown slate.
It's the Goff side for me.
Yeah.
You have a locked in target share with Amon-Ra. Seattle, I think, will spread it more.
I just mean if you're playing a bunch of lineups, I want a lot of all of that. But sure.
Oh, for sure. That's if you force me to pick.
Brad Kaufman, in the 333, who is your must play?
It's probably HN.
Yeah. Probably
HN or Amon-Ra.
Or Amon-Ra. And one of those affordable Seattle receivers for me as well.
Yes.
So I boosted Wright. Yeah, I got to bring that down.
What did you get? He's got like 40% right.
Like 70.
Oh, yeah.
What did you get?
I still got 0.
Boosting him to 5?
Boosting him to 6.
All right, so I'm running this for my single entry contest, the spy for it's a field of 1,000. So maybe that's why.
Yeah,
I
mine's
boosted him.
large
I
field
boosted him to
stuff.
6 and got insane amount, but that's a 20% to first and in the spy.
I'm running it again. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm running it again. All right.
70% is too much.
I was hoping to get like 15.
I think this Miami offense is the most interesting on the entire slate for taking shots. And there's a couple points I think that make a big difference. This Achane versus Jalen Wright versus is Wilson active is a huge one. But there's a lot of other just like tangential weird stuff that Miami does. Someone in chat asked about 12 personnel. They get graded with a really high 12 personnel rate and a high 22 personnel rate because they use a fullback all the time and they line them up in weird spots. So it all depends on how you grade it. But what I'm trying to say is a lot of times they have 2 wide receivers in the field. But with Malik Washington back, who just might be better than Eric Ezukanma and Braxton Berrios, do they go more 11? I don't know. Honestly, I kind of think they might not because you're playing with Huntley and you want to run the ball against this Tennessee front. But those are all just guesses. That's honestly maybe another reason to throw some shots at Jalen Wright.
I will be throwing shots at Jalen Wright. For sure. I'm doing it right now as we speak.
Generally, I think it's a good idea to do that when you get these situations and just generally speaking, because a lot of people just aren't reacting at all.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That is 100% what it is. And here's the thing. If it means that I'm getting to Jalen Wright in the flex over Tyler Boyd, I'm okay with that.
Yes. Agreed.
I'm very much okay with that. So yeah, now it's just a point of like, how much are you willing to get of Jalen Wright?
I'm keeping it between 5 and 10. If I have to, I'll just put an exposure cap on it.
Yeah, I'm willing to get a little bit more than you, honestly.
All right. Just call me a coward.
I'm just saying it's a 2-game slate. I'm willing to take some risks. That's all. I'm willing to take a few risks on this one. We don't even know if Wilson's out. Right?
No, we don't. But again, like you got to guess whether you think he is or not.
Yeah. But if you had to guess, what do you think? How about this? If you had to guess, what do you think Wright's ownership would be?
1%. He was like, what did we have him in before this? What? It was definitely single digit. We had him at 0.5% own.
Right.
So first of all, this isn't definitive news. So a lot of people will probably just see it and be like, I'll just hope Wilson's in and roll with it. And then like, how many people see it at all?
My guess is not many.
Unless you have like pregame on or something.
Did someone in chat bring this up to you, or did you just see it on Twitter?
I have underdog notifications to my phone.
Good find. So do I. Did it pop? Ah, there it is.
The Dolphins also tweeted it out too, like the live Dolphins account.
Yep, I see that. I see it. I actually have their Twitter pulled up right now, but they tweeted it after other beat writers did. So, yeah. I'm still looking, see if there's anything here. We're running out of time though.
Right now I have it at 10. I'm going to leave that unless we see something. I'm not running anything else unless there's another update. Keeping it at 10.
Pete Rose died?
What? Oh, yeah. One of us.
Put him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
he's one of us.
Put him in the Hall of Fame, man. Do it now.
Yeah, one of us.
Let's see how much Jalen Wright I'm getting. Okay, that's more like it. 30. It does seem like a lot. I'm bringing it down a little.
30 is a lot. It's just risky.
That's all. Sometimes I'm just willing to get a little risky in these spots. It's so hard to win anything in these 2-game slates, man.
Paid off with Cubby.
Sure did. Sure did.
That was a good one. Dude, we've had 2 Monday nights where we've had something like this now.
I know. I don't know how this is happening.
The only other time I can remember was the Ingram situation, but that was the main slate.
What was the Ingram situation?
He pulled his hammy in pregame.
Oh,
Evan
yeah.
Ingram.
Week 2, right?
Yeah.
All right. Are you locked and loaded? Because I'm just finishing this up right now.
I'm locked and loaded right now. So unless we get something, I'm leaving it at 10% and I'm riding with it. Guess the one situation we didn't talk about a ton is tight end, which honestly is extremely cut and dry. I have a ton of Laporta and Fant, sprinklings of basically everyone else with a priority to Josh Wiley of all players. But he's the stone min. He came down like a couple percent, probably because I jammed some Jalen Wright and could get up to players. But yeah, I'm just kind of parsing through the lineups now with Jalen Wright. It is nice getting him in there. You get more like Amon-Ra plus Tyreek. My Tyreek went up a little bit. Like some of the studs I didn't have as much of went up a little bit.
I'm looking at the same thing and seeing exactly that.
I mean, that makes me feel better.
Yeah. How much Tyreek do you have now?
Let's see, a wide receiver. 19.
19%. Okay.
Yeah. Up from 16. And I only went to 10% Jalen Wright, so it's not like a huge jump in anything.
What's your final quarterback exposure?
Final quarterback is 43 Geno, 28 Goff, 18 Huntley, 10 Levis.
Okay.
I like that. I came down on Levis a little bit from 12 to 10.
I'm going to tell you mine right now.
Negative 7.5% leverage on Levis.
I'm getting these in with 40 seconds to go.
Oh, you get them in. I'll keep talking.
We're good.
My Laporta ownership jumped to 30%. I was way lower than that earlier.
All right, let's see. Quarterback. My Huntley exposure came down. My Jared Goff exposure actually went up a lot.
Don't you love like a good, you see 7:29 on the clock, trying to get your lineups in. You don't know. That is the sweat before the sweat.
Dude, I start feeling my heart beating in my chest.
Same.
Like it sucks. Because I've had the error message before, like it.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, like it's an automatic process, but sometimes you start to scramble and you start to like almost mess it up. Like, you know what I mean? Just subconsciously you screw something up and then you freak out and you go back. Yeah, I've had it happen before where you end up just running a train. Like it sucks. And
yeah,
you know what,
a lot.
dude, you know what the craziest sweat is? When you're sweating one lineup across every entry. And like, because I had one where I recently actually, where it wasn't this, it was I forget what it was, but it wasn't it was recent. And like I a little bit better than min cashed across every lineup. You end up having a great day.
If you run like a 150 train and it cashes, it's a phenomenal day.
It's a crazy day.
It's not bad.
Dude, I have way more Sam Laporta than I thought. How much do you have?
31.
Yeah, I have 48.
I don't dislike that, man. That's a big leverage spot he's the only tight end you can reasonably expect to break the slate or at least, has that potential.
Absolutely. He is my favorite. Like we talked about it today. We both agree kind of overpriced, but also probably my favorite leverage spot on the slate because we know what Laporta can do. Not to mention, we didn't mention this much this morning, and I know we're past lock, but for those of you guys still hanging out, appreciate you. And thanks to all of you for obviously watching the show and supporting us. We appreciate you big time. We didn't mention the fact, like, what if all of the other tight ends are just terrible?
Yeah, right? That's the thing.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Not like if Laporta puts up an 18 piece and you don't have him, like someone's going to find the right combination of dust everywhere else to make that work.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one position. Well, I guess, like Tyreek is on this slate, so you could get buried by a guy like him, but at tight end, he's really the only option.
Yeah, that's Right. Tyreek's another one, but you're right.
But
Getting
at
to a lot
wide
of,
receiver, like Amon-Ra could do it. Like a lot of different guys could do it. At tight end, I don't think anyone even could possibly do it.
Noah Fant, Josh Wiley, Johnny Smith, Chiga Conquest. I don't think so. No. Watch. One of
Except for
them's going
your
to have
Julian
30
Hill.
tonight. What'd you say?
Except for your Julian Hill.
Yeah, Julian Hill's going to have like 2 touchdowns tonight. He won't.
Julian Hill's the kind of player where I don't even know where he went to college. I don't know. I don't have any idea.
If you don't know where he went to college, then that means we probably should stay away from him. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. Make sure to follow Matt at Matt_Gajewski over on Twitter. Follow me at Laffy_D. Shout out to Jordan for producing this one. Enjoy the games tonight, guys. A little doubleheader action should be fun. And we'll see you back here. First look show for week 5. God, week 5 already. 10-game slate tomorrow, 10 Eastern with Ben Rasa and myself. That should be a fun one. Peace.